Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Steve Hasty. Steve, excited to have you on the show.
Glad to be here.
Yes, super excited to have you on and talk about all the awesome things that you're doing. And of course, before we do that, I want to read a little bit more about Steve so you can hear about some of those awesome things. And Steve is a co-owner of Swimming World, where his deep and intimate connection to the sport of swimming plays a significant role in the company's vision. Steve is also the president and owner of Hasty Awards, where he and his family have significantly impacted the world of Olympic sports through their dedication to providing meaningful awards for athletes. With over 30 years at the helm at Hasty Awards, Steve has expanded the company's reach to encompass awards for swimming, gymnastics, wrestling, track, and many, many others. And Steve is also a majority owner of an award-winning Smarter Paw brand and company as well too. And he also serves his community, including the Ottawa University Board of Trustees. And one of the things that I really loved when I was preparing for this is I always say, find something you love to do. You never work a day in your life. And I think that Steve's passion for swimming, all the awesome things he's doing probably definitely ring true. So Steve, excited to have you on the show. You're ready to speak to the I'm CEO community.
I absolutely am.
Well,
It's good to be here.
let's get it started then. So to kind of kick everything off, let's rewind the clock a little bit. Hear a little bit more on how you got started, what I call your CEO story.
How I got started with Hasty Awards or with Swimming World?
Yeah, both. I would love to hear both.
Oh, so son of a swim coach, and my father it was one of those situations where he was a college swimmer and of course wanted his kids to be involved in swimming, so coached us until we were late into high school. Neither one of us were quite good enough to go on to college, but we both, my brother and I, enjoyed teaching swimming lessons and coaching other teams and working our way through college. And later my kids, when they were younger, were on swim teams, but again, they decided to go in a different path. But my father felt like there was a better way to provide awards for the swimming community, and he of course had a vast network of fellow coaches, not just in the area but across the country. And he and my mom kind of started off as the American dream out of their garage, building awards and putting them together. And I'm the youngest son, so the joke in the family is my brother left to let me finish raising my parents. And I'd only planned to be here for a couple of years, but here I am 40 years later. So we basically grew the company from my father and I had a great working relationship. We never really stepped on each other's toes. Things that I was passionate about, he was supportive of, and vice versa. And in 1999, we transferred the ownership of the company over to my wife and I, and I've owned it ever since and moving forward. And from that became great relationships throughout the sport of swimming, both Swimming Hall of Fame. I've been on the Swimming Hall of Fame board now for about 7 years. It's been a wonderful experience. And like you said, if you're doing something that you love and you're passionate about, it just kind of works out. Brent Rudemiller was publisher of Swimming World magazine. When we were starting to grow nationally, we needed a media that we could use to spread the word about what we were doing. We had outgrown my father's contacts, and I developed a really good relationship over 20 years with Brent. And actually, we started discussing the possibility of becoming a partner of Swimming World. We started that probably back in 2016, and that didn't really get us anywhere. And in terms of the magazine really needed to have a bit more of a backbone of financial resources that we didn't really have at the time. And so Brent ended up giving the magazine to the Swimming Hall of Fame and donated it in exchange for being the CEO for 5 years. While he was there, He did amazing things for the Hall of Fame. The magazine did well. It probably didn't thrive. COVID was not easy for any sort of print media. And as Brent went through his 5-year contract towards the end, he got very sick and was not able to really focus on Swimming World. And so, as a board member, it became a passion of mine to keep it with the Hall of Fame. And as the Hall of Fame is now going through a $190 million renovation of the peninsula that they sit on in Fort Lauderdale, the magazine needed new ownership. Jack and I met. He basically donated his time in the first year to building a business plan for the magazine. And once we were ready to go, we acquired it from the Hall of Fame.
Nice. I appreciate you sharing, that journey and many great things I've heard, start from that garage. So I love hearing how, that seed has been planted and how it blossomed in so many different ways. I think so many times when we look at industries, we can get very siloed in how we're looking at what the industry could be. But I love how that passion has reigned true for you, your family, in so many different ways, and how it's manifested itself to all of the paths and the journeys you've been on, and of course the impact that you're making as well now with the magazine as well.
Right. Yeah, it's truly an American story. If you work hard enough and you're passionate and you kind of know the things that you do well, but more importantly, the things that you don't do well,
Mm.
and you stay away from those, it's been a great journey. Very thankful.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I would love to drill down a little bit more, hear a little bit more on how you're serving and impacting the clients and customers you work with. Could you take us through exactly what you're doing and how that process works?
So, swimming is just one facet of the award side, but swimming is absolutely our number one sport. And of course, the awards company is the gateway to the sport of swimming and the other avenues that we've gone in. We kind of take a philosophy that we take care of our customers at a very high level. Um, we know in a world of swimming where most of the events are annualized,
Hmm.
it's easy for us to help coaches out. We know when their events are going to be coming up, and 2 or 3 months ahead of time, we're able to reach out to them and help them with their next order, keep their awards fresh, and things like that. Um, it's a similar thing to what we're doing with the magazine. That's part of what's great about Jack and I is that I understand the nuts and bolts of the sport. I understand what the end users are looking for and what they need. And Jack, of course, has a wonderful swimming background as well. And but he brings to the table the media experience. And so between the two of us, we're able to bounce ideas off of each other. People who he knows. I don't know, people that I know he doesn't know. And it's really just been a great run, especially here for the last 7 or 8 months.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And being able to kind of like, I love that you said like sometimes it's knowing what you know, like knowing what your superpowers are, what your secret sauce, the thing that really sets you apart, but also kind of having that realization of what you don't know. And I think so many times as leaders, we can kind of forget about that collaborative piece and having the opportunity for you both to be co-owners. But I think even an extension of like how it sounds like you serve your clients and you work with them, you're also, for lack of a better term, partnering with them to help them know that, hey, did you know this is coming up in about 3 months? Did you know that you have to start getting these things together? So I feel like you can go so much farther together when you start to have that awareness around this is what we do, this is what we can kind of do to make that impact, but we know that we can't do it together. We need help, and support for that to happen.
Exactly. With the magazine, with taking on a brand that's been, basically the Bible of swimming for 65 years.
Mhm.
Um, it's part of Jack and I both as young kids and young swimmers. couldn't wait to get our Swimming World magazine in the mail.
Mhm.
You know, the our favorite swimmers would appear on the cover, and those covers would be mounted to our walls. And part of what we are doing is bringing back that kind of legacy, but we're putting a different twist on it. We're putting a more modern twist. We're adding. Not only do we have a print magazine that's come back, but we've also added um, a new phone app that will be released shortly. That will kind of acquire some of the youth and actually make it more convenient for us to deliver our product to the end user. We have an amazing relationship with USA Swimming, in which we were basically producing their Splash magazine as well. Um, and we are just continuing to build our brand, and along with that will come the advertisements and will come the sponsorships, but we're really building the brand from the bottom up. um, we have some competition in this space. They do a great job. I really can't say anything negative about them, but they are a different organization. We're more of a news and in media. It's interesting when you go to a International Swimming Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Part of every inductee's bio is when they were on the cover of Swimming World
Right.
or what articles were about them. You know, at the end of the day, it does come back to our brand. And to be honest with you, our mission is to bring all of the entities of swimming together. Um, and that includes our competition. There's space for everybody. And like I said, they do what they do very well. We do what we do very well.
Yeah, and it kind of sounds like you tap into that kind of abundant mentality and understanding. I think so many times we could say it's either or, and you can say, kind of competition over cooperation, but I feel like cooperation over competition is really the way, because you start to realize that this is our lane, this is the thing that we do, and there's definitely room for quote unquote all of us, just because you might approach it in a different way, you might have a different secret sauce, a way that you kind of execute that on a deeper level. So I think being able to kind of tap into that is huge, and I almost wonder like. And I imagine you probably had that same transition, that within the business as well too, that you were able to inherit. We can get attached to the how that we do things. We need to do it this way. But I love kind of hearing that journey and how you're kind of redeveloping, but staying true to those roots, because it's not so much about how you do it. Sometimes it's the why. And you going back to like being a kid and being able to kind of have those, I imagine those experiences are what you're bringing. You're just doing it in the how in a different way.
Totally agree. Yes, we are.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, do you feel like that's part of like what does set you apart and makes you unique? That ability to kind of tap into that, but not also just realize like how you can understand that human element, how you can understand the impact that you're making, but manifest it in a different way. Do you feel like that's part of your secret sauce?
Absolutely. We are, we connect the dots between not just the elite swimmers, but also to the age group swimmers. We have, back in the day, you could send in your results of your swim meet, say, to Swimming World magazine. Well, if you finished in the top three of your event, you could flip through the magazine to find that meet, and you would see your name in print. Well, that's pretty phenomenal. Even in this day and age, you may be looking at a phone, which has a digital screen, but you're still looking for your name and your accomplishments in print or being broadcast. And so that connection is real. It's just as real today as it was, 60 years ago. So
Yeah, I love that you use that word connection, because literally, thinking about like it's so funny. My son's getting into trading cards all of a sudden, and I remember getting the Beckett books and flipping through them, and I took him to this place that I found, and I realized it's still that connection, but it's a different way that you're doing it. You're not flipping through. Now you're using your thumbs to scroll up and down on an app or something like that. But it's that same human experience that we sometimes could get so attached to, but don't realize that there's a credible opportunity if you're able to, attach to that human part and realize like how it has evolved and changed.
correct. And the sport of swimming has evolved too. The swim meets used to be, held in um, 50-meter pools at universities or, major cities where you might have as many as 2 or 3 thousand spectators. Now they're held in basketball arenas, and in fact, in 2024, in 2 months, it's going to be held at Lucas Oil,
Mm-hmm.
which is a football stadium,
Mm-hmm.
and you're talking 40,000 people in a arena, which is, if you haven't ever done it or watched a swim meet of this caliber in that type of venue, it's incredible. And swimming for years has always been an every 4 year sport. People know the Michael Phelps of the world only during the Olympics, and it doesn't get much coverage. It doesn't get much excitement between those. And one of the things that we are bringing to the table is helping to make these athletes more household names for every year, including non-Olympic years.
Yeah, that's huge, and that's why I love the beauty of like the news and media being able to kind of paint in that picture or even color in those lines because I think so many times we see that 4 years. And I imagine the Michael Phelps and all those people don't just work out and train for 4 years and once a
Right.
year they're putting in time all the time. They're going through meets and all those things, but I think so many times there hasn't been as much of an opportunity to see that holistic part, to see that journey, to see what that looks like, so that at the end of the day, you get to celebrate them, but also get the little bit more behind the scenes awareness of like what they're sacrificing, what they're doing, all those aspects of that journey.
Correct. And the sport also brings out just the key people in the sport are just some of the best people in the world. Everybody has controversies and such, but yeah, the sport of swimming is genuinely good people who give back to their communities, and we all kind of share kind of a similar sort of fundamental aspect of life that does make the doing what we do, it makes it easy.
Mhm.
I have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. You get that opportunity to have that camaraderie along with that human part and see all those things kind of, merge together into something really awesome. So absolutely
Yeah,
appreciate that. So
agreed.
I wanted to switch gears a little bit and I want to ask
Huh?
you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an app, a book, or even a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
Oh, what makes me more effective and efficient? Well, I think that technology is great. I think that being connected is to your business or businesses is very important. However, I do think that face to face contact and phone calls and even Zoom are critical pieces to how we are able to lead. Um, uh, Both employees or customers or suppliers. So I'm much more of a hands-on person. Um, I I'm able to connect to my companies via my phone or my computer, but at the end of the day, my most effective tools that I use are calling people, traveling to go visit them, or scheduling Zoom calls. Nothing can replace face to face contact.
Yeah, I love that, and I almost feel like in this day and age, again, to me, it seems like you're dialed in to that awareness of that the why we're doing the things that we're doing, and as you start to crush goals, do all those awesome things, forgetting about that human part of being able to kind of have that conversation, like you mentioned, Zoom, face to face, whatever it is, phone call, it connects you back to that human part. And I think so many times with all this technology, we can, I don't want to say lose sight of that, but like not realize that that helps serve sometimes the things that we're doing, but doesn't replace or get rid of the things that are that human part.
Yeah, no question. It's at the end of the day, a text and an email are good. It accomplishes the goal, answers questions, gets numbers to the right places. But when it comes to actually developing the relationship to where people are counting on you, which is ultimately your goal, you want to provide that value and that service, at some point in time, it's critical to have face to face interaction.
Yeah, absolutely. And that relationship word is so strong because I think I don't want to say there's not an easy button to developing a relationship, but maybe I do want to say that because you start to build that over those conversations, the connections, the camaraderie, all those things happen, but they don't just happen because, you kind of, put in an algorithm or something, and then all of a sudden you have a relationship. It starts to build over those things that are being done.
Exactly. Agreed.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, what would you consider to be a little bit more of what I like to call a CEO nugget? So, this could be a word of wisdom or piece of advice. I like to say it might be something you would tell your favorite client, or if you hopped into a time machine, you might tell your younger business self.
Well, I think that the piece of advice I often give is do what you do great. In everything that we do, there's opportunities that are outside of what you mainly do. I use the example that McDonald's does not sell onion rings, and they could block Burger King from having that niche. But the problem is that the onion rings make your French fries taste different, and
Mhm.
in McDonald's, their French fries are epic, and they're a great example of they've tested and tried other types of foods, and at the end of the day, they make hamburgers and cheeseburgers, and they do it really well, and none of the other things have really taken off for them. And so, if I was telling somebody, who's just starting out, I would tell them, know what you do and do it better than anybody else. But if you try to do everything, you're going to fail epically.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I feel like that should be like a bumper sticker or a t-shirt, onion rings will make your fries taste different. And I think it's just
Correct.
it's a realization of keeping the main thing. And I almost wonder like for you that has been involved in, have different businesses and things like that. Has it been like just not an awareness around the journey that you've taken where so many times people that are starting or maybe they don't lean in and get great at the main thing or the thing that they want to be world class at, they're so busy trying to look at, let me add on this or add on that. Do you feel like that is part of like what you're talking about, like really honing in on being
Absolutely.
great?
Absolutely. Every day we could do, there's different carrots that are hanging out there that we could go after. And don't get me wrong, expansion and diversity is important to your company, changing with the times. Absolutely critical. So you need to be open to those, but to build your top line does not always build your bottom line,
Mm.
and don't take good dollars and chase after bad dollars. Know what you do, and do it better than anybody else.
Yeah, that's so huge to be able to kind of hone in on that. And I think so many times, like you said, the carrots, the shiny objects, whatever it might be, that you lose sight of like ultimately what you did that got you to where you are. And I think if we lose sight of that, we lose sight of the ultimately the impact, the value that you can provide and bring to the marketplace.
Agreed. Yes.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, what would you consider to be your answer to my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO? And our goal is to have different quote unquote CEOs on this show. So, Steve, what does being a CEO mean to you?
Well, if you have a small organization, a CEO is definition is one thing. If you have a larger number of people, um, to me, it doesn't mean that you're the best at any one thing that goes on within the company. I think to be an effective CEO, you have to hire the best people to do their role better than anybody else. The CEO is usually good at a lot of things, but not a master of anything.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, you're kind of the head of the family. These are human beings that you're working with, and so you have to be able to relate to them as individuals, what's going on with their family, what's going on in their personal life, because all of that trickles into their professional life. And so being an effective CEO is being a good listener, being able to make good decisions. um, you're going to have to treat everybody fairly, um, but really, at the end of the day, it's a family. and you need to treat everybody with respect and just like you would your own children.
Nice. I love that definition. I love that phrase, head of the family. And I think so many times when you start to again look at that human part, you start to realize like how, you are head in the family, but also too, like how these things are not silos. How, they're showing up, the things that they're doing, the questions that you're asking affects all aspects of the business, of their life, and being and caring for that is such a huge thing. And there's a book, I don't know if you ever heard of it, called Range, which I absolutely love, and it talks a lot around how the way to solve problems of tomorrow is to have a range of different experiences, and having those range of different experiences allow you to realize things aren't silos. You have to merge them together to create those solutions. So I almost feel like, as you talked about being a CEO, it's not being a master of one thing, it's sometimes being a master of none, and aware of the things that are going on so you can provide those solutions and bring it all together.
Absolutely. Yeah. I always tell people that uh, the best part about my life is that the people who are involved in the many different companies, they allow me to be the CEO,
Mhm.
right? People oftentimes it's easy to be critical at the person at the top who's making the decisions, but at the end of the day, it's not an easy job. And it's not a job that really everybody wants or everybody's cut out to have. But um, what I've always been appreciative, and I have a lot of tenured people who have worked for me for more than 20 years. And I always say the best gift they give me is they allow me to be the CEO.
Mm.
Most situations are work in process. You have to, like you said, you have to use your experiences that you've gained over a lifetime to solve problems. But more importantly, you create an atmosphere where the problems don't repeat themselves. And sometimes it's easy to kick something under the rug, but it's a different thing to solve it to where it doesn't happen again. And that's that my the people around me allow me to be able to do that, and that's a big part of the success.
Yeah, that's an absolutely huge thing. I appreciate you sharing that, because I think so many times we don't think of that perspective from being a quote unquote CEO and whatever that looks like. A lot of times we think that you take it, you jump in and you flip over tables or do whatever to be that. But I feel like that, to me, it really touches on something that I don't think is talked about enough, as that ego piece. And I think so many times when you have that title, you sometimes think that you are that person, that you strive, you do all the things. But I love that allowing me to be, because I think we sometimes don't realize that it touches to me on servant leadership and being able to kind of help serve the people that are allowing you to be that head of the family.
Agreed. Yep, it's a gift.
Absolutely. Well, Steve, truly appreciate that definition. And of course, I appreciate your time even more. So, what I want to do now is pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional that you can let our readers and listeners know. And of course, how best people can get a hold of you, find out about all the awesome things you and your teams are doing.
Well, Swimming World is the newest addition to what we do, and there's no question that the exciting things that Jack especially is bringing to the table. I'm kind of along for the ride when it comes to a lot of that. Jack and I. Uh, our relationship is such that I kind of take care of the back of the house and he takes care of the front of the house. And and I would just encourage people who are interested in the swimming community to check us out at swimmingworldmagazine.com and to maybe even subscribe to the magazine. There's some great articles. We have an amazing editor in John Lone, who's been in the business for 25 years. We have just some of the best reporters on the planet. We just got done with the NCAA women's championships, one of the fastest meets, if not the fastest female meets of all time. Um, the NCAA men's was equally as impressive, and the Olympics this year are just going to be phenomenal. We cover internationally, and of course there are some amazing swimmers from France and other countries that do swim for American colleges, and some of their performances this last week were just incredible. So it's going to be a fast Olympics. It's going to be an exciting Olympics. Um, Olympic trials are first, and I think we're going to build an incredible team, and Swimming World's going to be covering all of that all along the way. And again, I just if you're if you ever, it's a great time to get interested in swimming if you haven't been before, and Swimming World is the way to get your information and to get excited about what's going on.
Absolutely. Well, I truly appreciate that, Steve. Obviously, we're going to have the links and information in the show notes as well, too, so that everybody can
Cool.
follow up, subscribe, and find out about all the awesome things that you and your team are working on. But truly appreciate you for taking some time out. Love that last point you kind of left us with. I just, definitely visualizing, being the kid and having all the posters and all the things in place and realizing like how exciting that is and how that has molded and changed in different ways that now kids and adults and everybody in between are now paying attention to that. So I appreciate you so much in taking time out. I appreciate you even more and being able to kind of cover that and be able to show us the stories, all the things that are happening that we're not aware of. So thank you so much for doing that, evolving with the times. And I hope you have a phenomenal rest of the day.
You bet. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.